get us started, pointing back to the next agenda item. When we left, we just finished hearing from David, and I thought it might be good, now that you've had some time, to gather your thoughts and have a little lunch, a little food for thought. Maybe a few of you would have some questions for David, or comments. David, I was just soliciting comments, but so far, I think people are actually still, maybe they're in a food coma. I'm not too sure. Yeah, there may be not many questions. Or maybe everything you said may have just gone over everyone's head. So. Okay, yeah. So David will be here if there's nothing coming to mind at the moment. David, will you be here for the rest of the week as well?
Until Wednesday.
Okay.
And I have a session with Franklin and Mordecai on Wednesday morning.
Okay.
It'll be much of the same.
Talking about, summarizing the distance learning event that you did.
Well, and also basically strategies towards engaging the audience, and in particular in the STEM field. We're all very interested.
I did have a question for you, Dave. You showed us briefly an engine, it looked like, that was displaying videos, a video player. Is this thing open source? Is it able to be given to the community and used at large, or is this something that's kind of proprietary at the moment?
It is proprietary, although I do say that I would be more than welcome to share what it is that I've done with that, and what I've learned over the multiple years, multiple iterations of it. So yeah, there were two players that I created. One which was a one-off that had just a single video and a single abstract captioning, and then another one that would dynamically generate buttons for multiple, so you could have an infinite number of media source, either video or still, with titles and everything else that went with it. So sort of like a video jukebox. I don't like that term necessarily, but it works very similar to a jukebox. It allows you to put multiple pieces of media in there. So yeah, I'm more than willing to, tell you how to do it.
And if you could send us a link to that, I will include it in the notes. I did not capture it.
Okay, yeah, it's in many different forms.
Okay.
Because again, it's just a player, and then the content changes dynamically, depending on what you want to do.
Yeah.
So, I can show, I've sent you links to the two different versions as examples.
Okay. Thanks, David. Let me grab the agenda here and see where we might want to go next. Mika is, I don't think, here, any of her representatives to give an update on Southern Skies. Lewis will be doing the awards discussion a bit later. So perhaps it's time to talk a little bit about online community efforts. Both the Muse for the K20 initiative that Jennifer and I have been working on, as well as Tim's product that you've heard a little bit about in the past from Janet. Robert Simmerlist has been here, both physically and virtually, a couple different occasions. So we've watched as the Janet online collaboration service has developed from a concept to an actual physical entity, and we're happy to have Tim boundary here today from Janet to actually show us what's been created. And I'll let him frame it and bill it as he will. I don't want to overpromise and oversell as far as what it's capable of doing and how far it can be used by our community. But from what I've seen, it's really impressive and has a lot of potential to be used here as well as obviously in the UK to help identify some fantastic video conferencing related projects and programs. So with that, I guess I'll let Tim take it. I will then, after Tim's had a little had a chance to overview his service, we'll go and look at a little bit of the Muse project as well.
Where's my sound? I'll let you give this a try. It's not sure good. Let me turn that down a little bit. Okay. I can run a presentation if you'd like. You can go over just sort of roll around the mic.
Testing.
Yeah. Start with that.
Hi everybody. Just probably first of all, thank you for inviting me here. I'm here in place of Rob Simbalist, who will be making the presentation. If he didn't have to go to a much more duller meeting in London somewhere, so he's definitely jealous that I got to come to San Diego. But I'm very grateful, so thank you for having me. I think James is going to put a brief PowerPoint presentation up, but I'll give you a bit of background to myself. I've only been with Janet UK, which was previously known as Ukerna. If any of you working on that title, we've changed our name now so that the company is the same name as the network. Makes everything much simpler. I've been working with Janet for about a year. I'm a schools content coordinator, which means my job falls into two roles. One is to liaise with the cultural sector in the UK, which really means I go and visit museums and I educate them about how they can connect to the Janet network and services they can use, which largely is video conferencing. So my experience in working for the National Space Centre in the UK and delivering their video conferencing content from there helped me to go and describe to other museums how they can take advantage of video conferencing and start delivering content to schools. The second part of my job is to project manage Janet Collaborate, which I'll tell you a little more about in a second. But James, click the button, please. These are just a very short list of some of the content providers we have connected to the Janet network at the moment. This is from the Janet Video Conferencing Service list. JVCS has 4 MCUs across the Janet network, allowing any member of JVCS to schedule their use by going to a website, picking 2 places they want to link and setting the time and date. That books the MCU and the conference is then dialed out to these 2 points and connected together, which means for teachers or people not so familiar with using VC, it's a much easier way to get going. They just type their name in, set a time, and wait and then it happens. Some of the content providers find this great to use. I know that Rob has presented this before. There's about 30 content providers on JVCS at the moment. I haven't got that many video clips, so I do really need to tour the country and demand some good little video clips from them. You've probably seen this one. I don't think it's going to move, but Rob might have shown you this before. This is from the National Archives. They do have there are about 5 or 6 different sessions they deliver over video. This one is Private Henry Fairhurst. His character was created from the genuine diary of the First World War soldier that they had in the archives, and his stories relate to the experiences of that soldier. Is he playing?
I can go ahead and play it.
Yeah, see if we can play it there. He's a little bit of a dry character. Not what we call cheerful, but you probably wouldn't be either if you were in the trenches in the First World War.
You can't help thinking to yourself, well, maybe tomorrow I will die. Or if I don't die, will I get wounded? And if I'm wounded, how serious will it be? Will I lose an arm? Will I lose a leg?
Okay, probably a bit
Will I lose the rest of my life?
that's just a taster there. He does lighten up a bit. And thankfully survives all of his video conferences as well, without losing any limbs. So that's one example. I think Rob's shown you that before. One of the other content providers, and I'm showing you this because this is my history, this is where I used to work, is the National Space Centre. And the project that they run is something you may be familiar with called Operation Montserrat, which was from the Challenger Learning Centre network in the US. They have developed other sessions as well. It all started with Operation Montserrat, so I think we've got another video on the next one that just gives you a little taster of that for those of you that haven't seen it. I did used to be Commander Tim. You don't have to use that title anymore. I'll let you off with that one. But is the slide in there? You can probably play the video or start the desktop actually.
Yeah, let's just do that.
On the right.
There we are.
This little video clip was made by the students in a Birmingham school who were going on their mission. So then they split the team. They're all far too excited.
I need you please to tell me what the category of the hurricane is at the moment.
We're just working out what the hurricane is to check when's it going to hit the island.
We've been doing specific stuff like find out about what parts of Montserrat has been evacuated.
Here I am reporting back here from the evacuation team. What is your job?
To evacuate loads of people from places that are going to get harmed to other places which are safe.
Oh, well, it's very hectic at the moment. We've got a lot of volcanic activity. It's very, very unstable. And the hurricane, though, fortunately, we seem to slow down and change directions.
Well, I'm researching protection against hurricane rain.
All these places with a green line through have been evacuated successfully by the evacuation team with information from the hurricane and volcano teams. Can I have a round of applause, please, for the hurricane team?
Okay, that clip is a couple of years old, but you can see the excitement in the students there, which is one of the reasons why we were so keen to get the E-mission. Have any of you actually seen the E-mission live? I've been there while it's happening.
You didn't have to do the one between you and the Netherlands, did you?
Yes.
I was on that.
Oh, right. You didn't watch it, did you?
I was there. I was in the Netherlands when that.
Were you? Oh, was that the one that lasted 20 minutes?
Yes.
Rather than an hour and a half? Yeah, that was tough. Very difficult to evacuate a whole island in 20 minutes when you're supposed to do it in an hour and a half. I bet they still saved 8,000 lives though.
Actually, they loved it. You know, the English, and this was between an English-speaking country and, you know, the Netherlands, in which, you know, English is not their forte, although they did pretty good, but it was generating, and in the Dutch culture, this is not something, you know, you don't want to stand out in the Dutch culture, but this particular way of learning is very interesting to them.
It's been very popular in the UK.
Exciting.
Yeah, the Space Centre's doing over 200 a year at the moment, which is a lot more video conferences per annum than any of the other content providers. Going to these first graphs now, you can see the use of video conferencing in schools is beginning to increase in the UK. These graphs show the blue line, hopefully you can see that at the back. The blue line shows the endpoints that are registered with the Janet video conferencing service. So that's not the total of endpoints in schools. And you can see we're nearly up to, well actually we are up to 3,000 now on that, I know. The red line here shows the number of video conferences cumulatively that have been managed by the Janet video conferencing service. And I know that it's now, in fact I got an email yesterday telling me that we've reached 10,000. So a little bit of a landmark there. Feel free to buy me a drink later to celebrate that one. Anyway, JVCS is allowing schools to video conference with a kind of a reliability of quality, I think, by doing quality assurance tests with each member. They know if they book it online, this school to this museum, they know that both these endpoints have done a quality assurance test and they can be relatively assured that it's going to work. The problem with JVCS that's been long acknowledged is that the interface itself is rather cold and academic, maybe more intended for the university's careers, or university groups and colleges that initially used JVCS. And now we're trying to introduce it to schools. There's been some opinion that the website itself isn't that suitable for teachers who are totally new to video conferencing, and words like codec and H323 are not a lot of use for people who have no idea what that is. So we needed to develop a more friendly interface. So that was one problem we came up against. The other issue was that unless you already knew that the National Archives did video conferencing content, you wouldn't know to go to their website to look for it. And vice versa with all the other content providers. I mean, there's a huge array out there now. You can meet Winston Churchill, you can meet Mary Anning, Sir Thomas Crapper, who invented the toilet. You can meet, goodness knows how many Roman soldiers. I think there's going to be another invasion. There's so many Roman soldiers about now. But unless you know that the Exeter Museum has a battalion of Roman soldiers, you didn't know to go there and look. So what we needed was a one-stop shop, somewhere where teachers could go and find content to video conference with, find opportunities. And we quickly realised that really a simple directory, a simple list would achieve this. And this was probably what Rob was presenting to you in the last few years. Oh, I've got to explain this colourful graph, otherwise you'll just go crazy wondering what it means. But this is the use of JVCS as we progressed in the last years. So I'll come back to the channel collaborators in a second. You can see where we started. The top two colours there, the purples, they are system testing and QA testing and technical events. And you can see as we moved on through the years, so that started in August 2004, we're now at the other end of August 2007, those purple ones are a minuscule quantity now, not during those terms. The dips here are summer holidays for schools. And the larger colours, at the end, the yellow colour and the pink, are tutorial and teaching, which shows now that video conferencing is actually becoming, it's more useful than it was intended for. It's not so much a technical hurdle now for people, and the actual technical side of things is a much smaller percentage. Okay, so as I was saying, we had a problem that teachers didn't know what content was out there. We also had a problem that the JVCS online booking system was rather cold and impersonal and didn't really enthuse anybody to, oh yeah, let's link that piece of hardware to that piece of hardware. Won't that be exciting? So the interface we wanted to create could have been a directory, as I was saying, but given the latest technologies online, I don't want to use this phrase, but I'm going to say it, Web 2.0 tools out there, this gives us the opportunity to create something much more powerful. It doesn't just have to be the content providers who are offering opportunities, it can actually be any member. So what we're trying to create is something where somebody can sign up and then instantly become a content provider themselves if they like. We can have primary, secondary school teachers saying, I want my children to talk about the leaves they find in their schoolyard. Who would like to join us with that? We can compare the different leaves we have. Who would like to exchange pictures? Who would like to just have a phone conversation with somebody in a different area of the country where it's snowing when it's sunny here? Obviously you can see the potential of this. So what we try to create is a community rather than just a directory. I'm going to see if I can go over to the computer now. Probably not a lot of glasses off the table. Okay, I'm here. Let's click on the link. I'll give you a very quick tour of Janet Collaborator. We launched this on Wednesday in the National Maritime Museum, which means that we haven't got very many members yet. I've been talking to Ruthie from CILC, who has an enviable close to 10,000 members. We've got 214 at the moment. But, importantly, on Wednesday, that was only 120. So 100 people have signed up in the last week almost, which is good news in my opinion. If I could just expand this out. I'll just show you the three main functions, and then if you want to, you're very welcome to go and play with this yourself. If I click on my profile, everybody who signs up to the website will get a profile. There's a beautiful picture of me. You can also see there the details, including JVCS endpoints. That's the details of my video conferencing system in the Janet offices. Also on there is other details of how you can video conference with me, call me on my telephone, whatever type of technology you want to use. These are the current opportunities that I'm a member of, that I've joined. So if we look finally at the content on there, let me just hit I've typed history there, it's already popped up with some of those. Okay, the red ones are opportunities, the purple ones are members. These are all people who mentioned history. If you look at the opportunities. Okay, understanding slavery, key stage 3. This is from the National Maritime Museum. And thankfully they've jumped on board with this and posted their content pretty quickly. I'm an administrator, so I get far too many buttons. But a normal teacher would just see 1 or 2. So they've got a description there. Explore the history and legacy of the transatlantic slave trade through our unique collection of slavery artifacts and images, etc., etc. It links to a topic. Now, what a teacher could do is to click join this opportunity. And the powerful application that I'm very pleased to say that we've managed to make work is that if the teacher has linked their video conference system to their profile, and the museum or whoever they're joining an opportunity on has also linked their video conferencing system to their profile, this means that joining the opportunity and then clicking a button that says book will take all that detail from this opportunity and turn it into a booking on the MCU, meaning that now people can organise video conferences around the topic rather than choosing the pieces of hardware to link together. So we've actually arranged this around people and events rather than hardware. And it also removes the cold interface of JVCS. It means that the technical challenge of booking a video conference has been taken care of because they've already entered all the details of the opportunity. So hopefully this will make things a lot easier. Time will tell. This is a prototype. It's been live for about 6 days. People are already emailing me having found bugs, which I'm enjoying. And we've got relatively few members and opportunities, but I'm hoping this will grow. I'm going to go on the TIM roadshow around the country, which is obviously much more feasible for me than it would be for you. But I'm going to try and tell the teachers about this and bring up the community feel. So keep an eye on this. Feel free to join and sign up if you like. Offer opportunities. I'm hoping that some of the people who presented today will post content onto the site so that we can have some US-UK opportunities and projects working back and forth, because there's no reason why we can't make this a little bit more international. I've been talking to Ruthie and James. Hopefully we can enable Janet Collaborate to work with Muse and CILC to make sure that all the options are there for US and UK teachers. Okay, I think I'll leave it there and let James speak. Maybe if you've got any questions, should we let them now? If you shout it, I'll repeat it.
Can you get into the back end a little bit between this social interface and JVCS itself?
Can I, or do you want to see it?
30 seconds.
Okay. The question was, can we get into the back end? You want to see what's made of, don't you? It's made using Plone, which is free. Which is one second. It's open source software. We use a company called Delib to do this. Okay, as an administrator, I have the privilege of being able to delete anybody or anything that's put up there and moderate the content. I'm hoping this is going to load. Yeah, there you go. So there's the back end of that opportunity, and I can go in and edit any content, remove people, add people. We can also look at all the members' profiles and change details there. Does that answer your question? Or?
A little bit.
Okay, you can speak to me later if you want.
So on that note, in that area, do you add specific tags, or is there already your group not together for the taxonomy of how things relate?
The members add the tags themselves using the categories.
And
The
So
type-
these categories, you guys collaboratively got together and said, we think these.
Yeah, these are, you can just see an example here. These, you can either search using the same categories, so they can pick England and Wales. Key stage 3 is about 11 to 14 years old, and then they can pick a topic. And if they do that and then click search, they can see any content or members that have allocated that tag to their content, which obviously we know isn't very much. But that's the basic start. We're hoping to have a much more of a user-defined taxonomy. Just put in random words if they want to create a tag cloud to make it a bit more natural to use. Any other questions?
Do you want US teachers on there in addition to content providers?
I would welcome them if they want to join. I think if they're looking for US content or content that's more likely to happen in their time frame, then they'd have more look at CALC or news. However, they're welcome to join it internationally if they want to. There's no authentication system at the moment in the prototype service, but we're hoping to use Shibboleth eventually, so that members of the UK Federation will be able to access this more easily and quickly, but it won't mean that international partners will be blocked in any way. So yes, you're welcome. Okay, I think I'll hand over to James. Thank you very much.
And I'll mention this as it's a good opportunity to point out, we passed around the teaching and learning K20 sessions of interest, listing everything that's happening Monday through Thursday. So on Tuesday, 8:45, Tim and I, along with Jennifer, will be doing more in-depth treatment on the subject of emerging online communities around video conferencing and advanced networking. So what this is meant to do is just kind of give a quick teaser to both systems, Muse and Gen Collaborate, and we'll go into a lot more detail there tomorrow morning. So I'm going to put together just a quick presentation, and which I'll show you, and then we can actually look at Muse a bit as well. So I'd like to just spend a few minutes here looking over just a top-level view of what we've created for the K20 initiative. We go ahead and head to the next slide here. Primary goals will not be new. We've kind of gone down this road in the past with my K20. The Muse is kind of an updated version of what we've been trying to do for several years now, which is, in essence, trying to connect people with similar interests around advanced networking applications. Doing so should encourage collaboration and also facilitate resource sharing. It's really trying to answer the perennial question of, okay, so a lot of us have access to this fantastic next generation network. To what end? And is there life beyond video conferencing applications, beyond the K-12 community, and really trying to focus on not just those two applications, but our entire constituency group within the K-20 world. So we're trying to answer these fundamental questions of what's out there and what's possible for librarians, as well as in the public and academic and school spaces, as well as community college faculty, higher education faculty, and anyone who has an interest in advanced networking, what it can do for them in their capacity within K-20. We like Muse to try to, we would like Muse to hopefully further them along and come up against the well-worn term. Well, what does it mean? I mean, basically, what we're talking about is putting in the hands of, the content creation capacity into the hands of actual users, so that they can describe what they're interested in their own words, using their own vocabularies. We're also trying to, employ wisdom of the crowd and radical trust of users. Looking at Wikipedia as a model, been fantastically successful at, the larger the N, thinking and writing about something, the better off you're going to be in terms of describing something in a meaningful way to a large number of people. So in news, we're putting as much as possible, putting the capacity for users to describe themselves and their interests and their activities in their own hands. So we've not gone with the controlled vocabulary. For better or for worse, this has not been done necessarily yet in this community, so we will see. But we've completely left tagging up to users, so we're really going to embrace the idea of a folksonomy. If we can, I think we'll be successful if we can get enough people describing content. If there's, 1,000 people out there that are going to be describing content, maybe only an eighth of those folks actively, then maybe tagging isn't the way to go. But we'll see. It all sort of depends on how well we can market this and how well we can get it into people's hands as to how the tagging will work. A little bit more on the ideology behind this. Next slide. Oh, I guess that's it. Functionality. What are we trying to do new from my K20? One is to address this question of custom collaboration spaces. What I mean by that is we have 38 different SegPs right now, potentially more coming, and each one of them seems to have a desire. Well, I shouldn't say each one of them because I don't know that, but several have expressed the desire to create their own world and their own view into advanced networking, educational opportunities, and events and activities, resources. So something a little bit more appropriate, closer to home, more customized to their community and their needs. So we've created that functionality with the news. I can show you that. In doing that, our model was Magpie. Jennifer was looking for something like this for her tri-state region. And so we quickly realized, this is something that could potentially reach beyond geographic boundaries. We can find the community not just geographically, but perhaps topically or by discipline. So suddenly, if you build it correctly and market it correctly, you can suddenly have people who are interested in coming together around, undersea opportunities, creating a community, and describing their activities. All of course, within a common underlying database architecture, so you can share content at your however openly you'd like with other communities. So if you create content in your community, it doesn't necessarily need to stay there. It can be shown to a more global audience. At its core, it still has the ability to create a personal profile and describe a project. People now are, unlike the past my K20 system, where it was really up to me or to Lewis to find stories and post them on the site relative to advanced networking and the great things going on all around the country and the world. We've now tried to open it up so that anyone can come to the site and submit a story that they found interesting about this, and it'll be displayed, and of course attributed to whoever provided it. There will be some moderation involved, just to make sure. So there at least is a reality check onto as to what's being submitted to make sure we're not getting some nefarious content put live. It only takes one time for the news suddenly becomes not such an attractive place if you suddenly have XXX appearing all over the place. So we've been mindful of that and trying to temper our desire to be open and inclusive with the realities of the world. Okay, so then of course you can search and browse for people, projects, and organizations. So what do I have next here? A little bit more on the content or the functionality. I'll just note that you can take a look at that. One thing I will note is this idea of pushing content to users rather than just having a, albeit dynamic site, but which requires people to actually find it somehow via Google or whatever, and then come to the site. What we're hoping to do is using RSS and what we're terming is share this kinds of things, where if you find something, you can email whatever it is to whoever, either within the Muse system or just your colleagues. So it's an effort to try to market this from practitioner to practitioner, teacher to teacher, rather than from the K20 initiative and the various channels we have for disseminating information down to practitioner level. If we can succeed in getting a large enough user base, and this is our job collectively, I think, for this thing to really work, we need to provide the seeding and the functionality to get this in enough people's hands and get enough good content in there. But then hopefully it will just virally market itself once it goes practitioner to practitioner. So we're building really robust features and functionality to enable that to happen as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Let's see what's next here. Okay, go ahead and click on it one more time. This is just an example of a project page. We've all seen descriptions of projects before, so I won't belabor this one, but one thing to note, which I didn't know earlier, I guess, was the project feed, and this is an example of dynamic content coming from the Exploratorium that all Rob had to do was, well, I should say all, I don't have to trivialize it, but he had to create an RSS feed that drew all the content from his site that had Internet 2 enabling features in it. And that's what this feed represents. So it's all the past projects and hopefully future scheduled projects or events that are they're live webcasts. So in this way, Rob doesn't have to keep coming back to this thing. He can just configure an RSS feed once, and the system will constantly update itself with the latest and greatest from Exploratorium. One more clip there. This is an example of a profile page. You'll note that you can have friends, I guess colleagues may be a better term, describing, that's basically other people in the system that you found interesting because they've got the same kind of interest tags as you, or they're involved in the same kind of projects as you. It's a way to aggregate people by their interests. So you get your quick description of who the person is, but then on the right, most importantly, who else do they know and what else are they involved in? So you can create nice virtuous circles of interest and information by finding something, you'll hopefully find more. And of course, you can add resources like links to your bookmarks that you may have, or Flickr accounts, or any other kind of things that way. Organization directories do, and this is something that's just kind of in its infancy. I oftentimes, I know Lewis gets this question, we all get this question, it seems like, who's connected to internet too? Not just numbers of people and states and means. There's 10,000 people, or 10,000 schools, let's say, across these three states. That's great. What are they? That's what we're trying to get down to. Is what are the actual schools? What are the actual museums that are connected? So that's what during the citing process, you of course describe your institution. So we're capturing the institution information. The next step, which could be an interesting working group, and I wonder if there's any other people interested in this, but if we could somehow work with Internet 2 to develop some capacity to automatically detect an institution's connectivity status, and then capture that, and on an ongoing basis ping that institution to continually update that status, we can do a lot, I think, toward helping people, once they find each other, determine the level of collaborations that they can pursue. So that's maybe Star Trek right now, but from what I've heard from Internet too, there's maybe it's not so Star Trek as it may seem. There are some things in the way that may make that more accessible than we know right now. So if there are people who are interested in that, I'd love to work on that with others. All right. Anyone else? For now, let's it could be. I think it could be a good thing. Here's a quick shot of the Magpie Regional site as it stands now. You'll see that Magpie Carpet Shooter is the only project I think that's been entered so far. But if you were from New Jersey, Delaware, Pennsylvania, and you came to Muse, you would automatically, in the sign-up process, be assigned that region as well as the global environment based on your geographic region or your geographic area. You'd be subscribed to this regional site. When you create a project description, it'll ask you, do you want this to be, is this something that's just for you and your colleagues within your region, or is this something that could potentially be national or global? And so you can kind of toggle the visibility of yourself as well as all the things you're involved in accordingly. So this is just the current way that we've got it laid out, and you can imagine lots of different layouts and iterations of this depending on the person's or the group's needs. So, really quickly, I'll just touch on this last. I think this may be the last thing. Discipline-specific instructions to advanced networking, teaching, and learning applications. So we all know that we get the questions. I think probably everyone in the room has been asked this question. Okay, so I know a little bit about Internet 2, but what can I do with it? And what do I need to do to actually get my school or my library ready to really take part in Internet 2? So what we've tried to do is answer those kind of fundamental questions, not from a national, global perspective, but specific to your discipline. So we've created these, what we call Get Started Guides, for better or for worse, for four-year colleges, two-year institutions, public libraries, K-12 schools, museums, one in the aggregate for students who work in science centers. And I don't know if you are familiar with that. I don't remember which version of the World Book, or no, actually it was Britannica, where they asked luminaries in the field, in whatever the discipline was. So Einstein, for relativity, he wrote that part of the description of the encyclopedia. So we took the same approach here with these, and we went out and found people like Robert Musgrove for the two-year colleges. You may recall Myron introduced us to this fine fellow at K20 Community College in Minnesota. He wrote the description for community colleges, and we found somebody really tuned in to the K-12 schools and Internet 2, and had them write it. Same, I think Dale Hilton did the one for museums, and Rob Sepper from Exploratorium did the one for science centers and aquarium institutes. So those are available online. We can look at those a little bit more tomorrow. And finally, do I have anything else up here? Go ahead. So challenges. I touched on the connectivity survey stuff. How can we more passively, just automatically be collecting this information about who's connected and at what speed, that sort of thing. Most important, probably, to the success of Muse is effective marketing of the site. Something that I feel like I haven't done a very good job with my K20. So really, maybe if potentially I think we could do much better in that respect with Muse and have equivalent success. With the more effort we put into marketing, I think we'll have commensurate success with Muse. So then the holy grail seems to be, now that we've actually got some really interesting collaborative communities that are springing up all around the world. We heard from Tim on one. We've all known about CILC is kind of the de facto place to go for And so the question becomes, you know, is there a way for us to somehow create some common functionality that allows these things to integrate? Multilinguality, if you do that, then it needs to deal with multiple languages becomes paramount. And then the problem of everybody's got a social network for everything these days. And what's the threshold at which educators say, you know, I just can't deal with anymore using these passwords. And so while the content may be great behind it, if it's got to authenticate to be useful, then is that a showstopper given Web 2.0? So and the overload of sites. So just a few thoughts on the challenges. I don't know if I have anything else here. I'm sorry. What's next? Okay, so I should really clarify where we're at with this thing. We were thinking of this as a soft launch, and what that means is it's not available for everybody right now. It's not ready for practitioners to start using. Let's just put it that way. As Myron said, sell no wine before it's time. I thought that was a good way to paraphrase it. Because it's the kiss of death. If you put something out that's not ready, it happens. So the way I've calculated it should be, it'll just, if we could really, back on the ranch, if we have the cycles to work on this moving forward over the next few weeks, we should actually have the site ready to start being put in the hands of practitioners. But until then, what I'd like to do is just kind of put a call out to all of you that are here today and the advisory committee at large, and just have you guys start poking at it a little bit, questioning everything and trying everything, and particularly in different browsers and that sort of thing. We've tried to do that to spare you all that level of bug testing, but if you can all, what would be ideal is if all of us can spend a little time in the system thinking about it from each of our own perspectives in our own professional worlds, and then providing some feedback as to how news would stand up in your community and where it fails and where it's hitting the mark pretty well. I think we can get it tuned up and ready to roll out to the larger community by the end of October, depending upon how much time it really takes everybody to kind of go in and mess around. This date isn't something we need to be slave to, but the sooner the better, I guess, is probably the perspective we should take. And then based on the feedback we get from the initial user community, that will drive what we do next as far as phase 2. We have a whole list of things that would be great to do, but whether they're useful or not, we should let practitioners decide that. So that's kind of where we're at now in terms of the K20 web strategy. I guess I'll stop there and see if there are any questions, comments. There's a URL. That's where it physically lives right here. And I'll provide that in the notes and in presentation. The presentation here.
It's not going to be the rest of the
No. It will probably just be K20.internet2.edu. Yeah. Rob.
I'm wondering what kind of collaboration is possible with other existing communities. So we talked about like community fatigue and social networking fatigue and the threshold that people have to expand on communities. I participate a lot and they cross different domains. I'm interested in participating in this one. I'm wondering, in addition to things like RSS feeds and content, I can't tag my own images, so I'm getting assets, so taking other people's tagging, so it seems like a good idea. But is there a way that you thought to tap into some of the other educational resource sites to maybe connect to them more directly, to have communities more?
That has been, that's it. Yeah, I mean, if we could somehow take a look, if all the folks that own these various systems that we're interested in integrating, if we could all sit down and look at our database, underlying database schemas and see what are the terms we're all using to describe a person or a project or event, come to some consensus, I guess, on what that should be, or at the very least map to each other. That would allow the content then to flow around. If we could figure a way to authenticate across, pass our authentication credentials between systems securely. That seems like we would then be able to leverage this existing content, depth of content that's everywhere else.
That could be a big can of worms. I guess the example that I'm more familiar with is the NSDL one, which provides for harvesting metadata across the system. So people can come to our collection and take information and also our assets here, their collection. Maybe even together on a level like that. Authentication problem, just interoperability. Organization that should be
Right. So I would really welcome interest in pursuing this as a working group potentially, where we could, within the K20 initiative, we could identify those systems that we want to interoperate with, and then begin the process of engaging those groups toward this end. That may be a starting point.
What do you think about links to some of the larger communities where people already congregate, like MySpace or Facebook? Because a lot of, to be honest, a lot of teachers going into teaching now, especially in the UK, they like Facebook, don't use it. Right? I don't know, I don't think about that.
The only thing we've done to date is provide within the news profile the ability for somebody to put a link to their Facebook. Yeah, but beyond that, people already have an account. It's the fatigue thing. How many more do they want to create?
Tim, I don't know if you have this problem, but the kill rate that we have on things like YouTube and Facebook or and MySpace, any of those things, everybody's got a web filter. Those are all at the top of their kill list. I mean, most schools and even our colleges and universities will kill those, except for in dorm rooms and personal spaces and things like that. So.
Yeah, we've got the same thing, essentially.
And add Flickr to that list.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't even have to be things like we were uploading these videos to Google Video here. They personally get reviewed by somebody, and yet we still have that in our filter list for blocks sites. I mean, some of this stuff makes no sense whatsoever. But
even I think Lewis did at one point we worked with some schools in Washington that had filtered the entire.
They filtered all of .edu.
And with good reason.
So,
Big evil. I put some of that stuff there.
so any other thoughts on this stuff?
I'm sort of curious, you mentioned early on regarding monitoring, the power to delete. One of the things that I'm sure you followed Dig's history for a while was that one earlier this year where there was a portion of it that was deleted and all of its members were angry because they said it was a public arena for
we start deleting things.
One of the solutions that I can see for something like moving down the road or something like that is at least the mistake that Dig made was that one of their sponsors was Sony. So for pulling something that looks like you're getting money from them is obviously a little bit, in most people's eyes, corrupt. But we also didn't have anything stating that could possibly happen. So for example, like you're saying, if things come to a point where you feel as they need to be looked at, if you have a statement saying something like that, then you're covered right away.
Right. Yeah, so you can find safety in your use guidelines. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
James, I'm wondering, this may be something probably down the road or maybe something set up in real-time communication tools. I noticed you mentioned this part of what we're doing next. And the kinds of things that you showed us about scheduling and those in the
the instant messaging stuff, we'd love to do that. Scheduling, I'm not sure how to approach that, whether Reviews is the best place for it. But I guess we won't want to take anything off the table, but initially, of the two, we'll probably focus first on the audio component. But as far as scheduling things, we don't have them now, but we will put in I guess an event module, which will allow people to post their events. But as far as scheduling and actually, handling any kind of financial transaction, I don't know if we want to jump on board that. But certainly, initially, we'll be able to. It'll be a place where people can describe, something that's taking place at a specific time of day. So I guess if there aren't any other questions, I would just, if there are people who would like to join us in terms of beta testing this thing, raise your hand or send me an email, and I'll get you in the loop as far as that's concerned. So feel free to just send me an email or we can go from there. I will send out something to the group, just letting everyone know, because I know not everyone is here today. So I'll send out a message to the group letting everyone know that we're kind of ready to start putting this in